Now I just had to track me down a living, swimming myth. Couldn't be that many lakes harboring legends, right? Turns out there were few eyewitness accounts of such fish. Guess they didn't like flashing their scales as much as the fisher god. But I knew they had to exist. Why would he make up the challenge? So back to Sierra we went. She kindly asked the Fishermen's Guild and scholars to lend their assistance. They told us of a potential target, a beautiful fish, said to have the loveliest iridescent scales in the world. But it had never been caught, so it had yet to receive a proper name within academia. As if to tempt me more, we learned the locals called it the jewel fin. Catching it would be like grabbing a cloud, but the more I heard, the more I needed it. Surely it was a fool's errand. Too bad I was beside myself with determination. A being that existed somewhere between reality and rumor, I had to catch me some of that. Thus, in the coming days, whenever I found a semi-reliable lead, I would fly to the spot and cast my line. Went to salt lakes where a sip of the water would dry you to the bone. Wandered around underground streams where you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, and then every place in between. The captain, Lyria, and Vern accompanied me on my flights of fancy, but they grew tired of the pace. I wouldn't force them. I had planned to make the trip alone anyhow. All I wanted to do was find the unfindable, to catch the uncatchable. It was a good sign, honestly. They say anticipation exists right before accomplishment. Take a new sword technique. You only perfect it the day before a duel, a consequence of pre-battle nerves sending your noggin into overdrive. And this fish-off was a duel to the death for me and the fisher god. It would be the accomplishment of the century for any who lived by the rod. I was having the time of my life. But I knew I didn't have forever. We were in this skydom for a reason, and that mission had to take precedence. I decided my next search would be the last. It brought me to a labyrinthine jungle, which had claimed many adventurers in the past. I heard that somewhere inside was a spring turned monster den. One look at its bewitching twinkle would be enough to drive a man mad, and he'd throw himself into the pool to be swallowed. Relying on those exaggerated claims for guidance, I braved the forested depths to discover not a glorious spring, but a regular old bog. Yeah, ain't no legendary fish ever lived in a place like that. But still, I cast my rod, and Vern and the captain waited with bated breath as they watched me bobber-a-bobbin'. The swamp remained quiet. I was neither overcome with anticipation nor bored from inaction. I was part of the stillness, and my rod was my connection to it. I was one with nature and leap and liver fish a bite. I tugged the fish to the surface and began to tear up as the most perfect, lustrous twinkle broke the murky waters. Turns out none of the scholars' descriptions were quite right. But this was it. This was the jewel fin of legend.